Imagine getting a headache and you just go down to the pharmacy and just buy some Tylenol pills, right? Because they actually relieve headaches.
Yep.
And next thing you know, you take the pills, go to sleep, but you just don't get up.
That's a problem.
Today, we're going to be talking about the Tylenol murders. Stay tuned. This is interesting.
So do you know what our case is today?
Anything to do with this?
Yes, today we will be talking about the Chicago Tylenol murders, 1982, Illinois.
I'll need to take a Tylenol for this case.
You don't want to take a Tylenol for this case.
Does he think he's going to get a headache? Yeah, you're right. I don't think he'd want to take one for that one. Hey, everyone. We're Studio 7L. This is... And I'm Ed. And that was Crime Force, their AI investigation team. They're created with AI, and they present the information using AI tools to bring us the case stuff in a very more interesting, informative way. But before we get into today's Tylenol murders explained, deadly pills...
This is for education, entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research and always be kind to everyone, everywhere.
Exactly. So as we mentioned, deadly pills, Tylenol murders. This is interesting because I'm wondering if it was targeted or if it was something like a serial killer general. So I'm sure we're going to talk about more about it. Let's let Crime Force do some background on this and we'll go from there. And by the way, just 2 more seconds. I just want to tell you guys, happy holidays. I know, Merry Christmas. We are very close. I think Christmas is next week. We will have a show on Christmas, okay? Because the following week we'll be starting the new year. So check that out.
Yes.
If you can. I know it's Christmas. Maybe wait till next day.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
But just letting you know, we'll have an episode next week scheduled. All right, here we go. Background.
The Chicago Tylenol murders were a series of poisoning deaths resulting from drug tampering in the Chicago metropolitan area in 1982. The victims consumed Tylenol branded acetaminophen capsules that had been laced with potassium cyanide. 7 people died in the original poisonings, and there were several more deaths in subsequent copycat crimes. On September 28, 1982, 12-year-old Mary Kellerman from Elk Grove Village around 4 p.m. was hospitalized after consuming a capsule of extra-strength Tylenol. She died the next day. On September 29, 6 other individuals consumed contaminated Tylenol. The Chicago Tylenol murders involved several victims who purchased contaminated Tylenol capsules from various locations. After Mary Kellerman, it was Adam Janis, 27. Purchased from Jewel Food Store. Location, Arlington Heights. Date and time, around 11 a.m. on September 29, 1982. Stanley Janis, 25. Purchased from, same bottle as Adam Janis, from the Jewel Food Store in Arlington Heights. Teresa Janis, 20. Purchased from, same bottle as Adam Janis, from the Jewel Food Store in Arlington Heights. Mary McFarland, 31. Purchased from Woolworths. Location, Yorktown Center, Lombard.
Wow, yeah.
Date and time, exact time unknown, but before her death on September 29, 1982. Paula Prince, 35. Purchased from Walgreens. Location, Old Town Neighborhood, Chicago. Date and time, around 9:16 p.m. on September 29, 1982. Mary Lynn Reiner, 27. Purchased from Frank's Finer Foods. Location, Winfield. Date and time, around 3 p.m. on September 29, 1982.
Wow, same day. Huh.
Yeah.
Wow, that's creepy. So it looks like it's spread out, so it doesn't seem like it's targeted.
Right.
Investigation, let's hear it.
Thanks, Agent Owens. This is an interesting case. Who would think that taking pills to relieve pain would cause death?
Exactly.
There were additional bottles were discovered later at various stores including Osco Drug and Dominic's, which had also sold contaminated Tylenol capsules during this period. When public health official invested Janis's deaths, nurse Helen Jensen, Arlington Heights, visited the Janis household and discovered a Tylenol bottle with an accompanying receipt indicating it had been purchased the same day. Noticing that there were 6 pills missing, she turned the bottle over to investigator Nick Pichos and reported her suspicion that it was related to the Janis' deaths. Pichos called Dr. Edmund R. Donahue, Deputy Chief Medical Examiner for Cook County, who, suspecting that cyanide may be the culprit, asked Pichos to smell the bottle. When Pichos smelled an almond-like scent, Donahue asked the county's chief toxicologist, Dr. Michael Schaefer, to test the capsules, and Schaefer's team determined that 4 of the 44 remaining capsules from the Janis bottle contained nearly 3 times the fatal amount of cyanide.
Wow.
Authorities held a press conference
Like,
advising the
crazy.
public
Time
not to
to
take
actually-
Tylenol for the time being.
Oof.
And they
By
got to be someone
chance,
that's
the
very...
bottle of Tylenol that Kellerman used was inventoried by paramedics. Investigators noticed that the Janis bottle and the Kellerman bottle came from the same lot, MC 2880,
That's what I was
and
wondering.
Johnson & Johnson issued a recall for all Tylenol from that lot. But when tainted bottles from other lots were discovered, for example, the pills in Mary McFarland's possession were traced to lots 1910MD and MB2738, the recall expanded to cover those lots and any bottle of extra-strength capsules, from any lot, purchased in the Chicago area, making it one of the largest pharmaceutical recalls ever. A multi-agency investigation found the tampered pills to have been sold or on the shelves at a variety of stores in the Chicago area, including 2 different Jewel Foods locations, one in Arlington Heights, one in Elk Grove Village, an Osco drug store in Schaumburg, a Walgreens and a Dominick's, both in Chicago, and a Frank's Finer Foods in Winfield. One bottle had been purchased but, due to an off-scent, not yet used by Linda Morgan, wife of Judge Lewis V. Morgan.
In an effort to reassure the public, Johnson & Johnson, the manufacturer of Tylenol, distributed warnings to hospitals and distributors and halted Tylenol production and advertising. After other incidents, like strychnine added to Tylenol bottles in California, a nationwide recall of Tylenol products was issued on October 5, 1982. An estimated 31 million bottles were in circulation, with a retail value
that's
of
a
over
lot.
$100 million
lost a lot.
equivalent to $326 million
That's how much
in
money they lost.
2024.
That's crazy.
The company also advertised in the national media for individuals not to consume any of its products that contained acetaminophen after it was determined that only these capsules had been tampered with. Johnson & Johnson also offered to exchange all Tylenol capsules already purchased by the public for solid tablets. Customs at airports outside the U.S. were asking visitors if they brought Tylenol medicine with them.
That makes
Police
sense.
investigation. The tainted capsules were found to have been manufactured at 2 different locations, Pennsylvania and Texas,
Well, that's
suggesting
interesting.
that the capsules were tampered with after the product had been placed on store shelves for sale. The police hypothesis was that someone had taken bottles off shelves in local stores of the Chicago area, placed potassium cyanide in some of the capsules, and then placed the packages back on the store shelves
Isn't
to be
that
purchased
crazy?
by
Worse.
unknowing customers. In addition to the 5 bottles that led to the victims' deaths, a few other contaminated bottles were later discovered in the Chicago area.
That's even worse because it's after. At least if it's in the,
Right.
you can cut it off if it's in the distribution or when they're creating them. But if people are just doing that, that's crazy. Also, too, I heard mentioned beginning some copycat stuff, that's even horrible
That's
when people
horrible,
get these
yeah.
ideas. So let's see what the conclusion is on this one. Holy cow.
The copycat attacks involving
look
Tylenol
at that.
began shortly
Copycats, yeah.
after the original Tylenol murders in 1982 and continued for several years. Following the tragic events where 7 people died from cyanide-laced Tylenol capsules, there was a significant increase in product tampering incidents across the United States. Initial copycat incidents. In the immediate aftermath of the Chicago Tylenol murders, hundreds of reports
Crazy.
of similar tampering surfaced. The FDA recorded 270 suspected incidents of product
lot.
tampering in 1982 alone, with 36 classified as hardcore, true tamperings. These included various products beyond Tylenol, such as candy and other over-the-counter
So they
medications.
just-
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Notable
People are
copycat
nuts.
cases.
like they spending their
Several
time.
notable cases emerged during this period. Diane Ellsroth, 1986. A 23-year-old woman died after taking extra-strength Tylenol capsules that were later found to be laced with cyanide. This incident reignited fears about the safety of over-the-counter medications. Excedrin murders, 1986. 2 deaths occurred when Excedrin capsules were tampered with cyanide, leading to the conviction of Stella Nicol, who poisoned her husband and another victim to cover up
Poison
her
her husband.
crime.
It's crazy, huh?
That's
Sudafed
nuts.
poisonings, 1991.
1991.
Joseph Melling was convicted for poisoning Sudafed capsules with cyanide, resulting in multiple deaths and injuries. His motive was linked to insurance fraud related to his wife's potential death. These incidents demonstrated how the initial panic surrounding the Tylenol poisonings led to a wave of similar crimes, often motivated by personal gain or attention-seeking
During the
behavior.
initial investigations, a man named James William Lewis was accused of sending a letter to Johnson & Johnson demanding $1 million to stop the
that's the culprit.
cyanide-induced murders. Upon his arrest, Lewis told the authorities how the person behind the attacks may have carried out the killings by buying Tylenol, adding cyanide to the bottles, and returning them to the store shelves. Lewis was also found to have previously possessed a poisoning book, and, according to a confidential law enforcement document, his fingerprints were discovered on pages related to cyanide. Lewis denied being responsible for the poisonings, but he admitted to writing the letter, which he said he had worked on for 3 days.
Okay, why he wrote the
During the
letter?
trial, his attorneys claimed that Lewis intended only to focus the attention of the authorities on his wife's former employer. Lewis was convicted of extortion and sentenced to 10 years in prison.
10.
In 2007, authorities determined that the letter had an October 1, 1982, postmark, meaning that, if Lewis's 3-day timeline was accurate, he would have begun working on the letter prior to the first news reports concerning the poisonings. When confronted with this information, Lewis recanted his timeline. Court documents released in early 2009 show Department of Justice investigators concluded Lewis was responsible for the poisonings, despite the fact that they did not have enough evidence to charge him. In January 2010, both Lewis and his wife submitted DNA samples and fingerprints to authorities.
2010. That's how long it's
Lewis
been
said
going
if
on.
the FBI plays it fair, I have
86.
nothing to worry about. The DNA samples did not match any DNA recovered on the bottles. Lewis continued to deny responsibility for the poisonings. Lewis died on July 9, 2023, at age 76.
Interesting. That was an interesting one. Thank
Yeah.
you, Crime Force. Appreciate it again.
Thank you, guys.
Do.
Yes, and they just focus on James Williams.
Yes, that was it.
Yeah, but I think it's definitely there were more people more than him that actually did this. Like they were copycats, right? So what happened to that?
Yeah, and that's crazy that they didn't catch anybody. But maybe if these other copycats, maybe they got captured for one thing or the other. I gotta sneeze. I am so sorry. Let me put me on mute. I'm sure your mic caught that. Sorry about
Yeah,
that, guys.
both of 'em.
Allergies. I get them in the fall and I get them all times of the year. Anyhow, so one thing, yeah, they were really hooked on that person. Obviously, probably involved, or at least what they did was not correct. The copycats, hopefully they were. Sometimes these people do bad stuff. They wind up in jail. Hopefully that they were somehow. I don't know. It's just sad. The whole thing. I mean, here you are, you got a headache, and you go to take a Tylenol, and you wipe that. It's amazing how just a little cyanide will kill you like that.
Exactly. I mean, drugs is a powerful thing, and that's why a lot of them are in the hands of the pharmacy, and you got to need a prescription for most of them, right? But not for Tylenol. Tylenol is something that's supposed to be safe. It's supposed to relieve the pain, and it normally does. But unfortunately, in this case, somebody was just tampering, like you said, after the distribution.
Yeah.
But it's like, why are you hurting innocent people? Why?
I'm going to be smelling my bottles. If it smells like almonds, I'm out. Oh my God. It's just really, really sad. And it's really random. And That's why you gotta be blessed every day this holiday season.
Mm-hmm.
Be close to your family. Not to be morbid. We're all hoping to live long lives, but in this world between, something could always happen. So just embrace the loved ones that you have around this holiday time.
Yes, definitely. And just don't get anyone Tylenol for Christmas.
Probably not a good idea, especially if you watch this. I'm trying not to seize again. All right. Well, sorry. Okay, I think I'm good. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you,
Please come
Jasper.
back and watch with us. You're a family, and as we go through these cases together, we can all watch together and react to it. And if you like and subscribe, that'd be great, because, we enjoy doing this.
We
But
do.
I'm just gonna confide, and Chirac will tell you, this, doing the show is a lot of work. We have full-time jobs. We do a lot of things. It's on this holiday time, and it's even though we love doing it, we want to make sure that people are enjoying it. So it's important to share, like, comment, subscribe,
Right.
usual stuff, because we want to know if we want to keep this going. So please put it out there. Let us know.
Right. And
But,
we know that we carving out some of the people because some people don't even like true crime. So we talking to ones that really have a passion for true crimes and things that happen. And maybe, we can make the world a better place. So
Make it
when we
aware.
actually do these cases, we doing it, and we just want to make sure that, these cases are being out there and it's not just something
You learn
that,
from it.
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
we're not trying to sensationalize it.
Exactly.
We're giving the information
We
in a
give
way that you
information,
learn.
and then sometimes
you know
we do
what's
have
going
some
on.
things at the end, like for help, like the abused ones or anything else we have. So
Yeah. But again, we'll have just a reminder, we'll have episode definitely next week on Christmas and New Year's, but check that out. That'll be a good one. And Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to
Merry
everyone.
Christmas.
Until next time.
Studio 7-0.
Crime Force. Crime Force.